The tapered steel putting rail invented by Harold Swash can be an extremely effective putting aid if it's used in the correct way. It can give the golfer some very accurate real-time feedback as to how they're striking the ball and whether it's rolling along the line they intend it to. Very important for putting, starting the ball on the intended line. It's very important, first of all, to use this indoors. Using it outdoors on a putting green can be affected by wind, it can be affected by subtle slopes on the greens, and sometimes the grass can give a little bit under the weight of the steel rule, so it can give slightly misleading feedback if it's used on a putting green. And I think also this is sort of a more of a training environment, so it's best to use it indoors. Find a very flat level surface, use a high quality spirit level to make sure the ground is really flat. Get the bubble sort of bang in the middle so it's all nice and level. And then once you've done that, set up and tape down your arc map sheets to get make sure those sheets are really nicely in line, like so. This will really help sort of visually give the brain some feedback as to how the putter face must arc properly back and through. You don't really want to be moving the putter on a dead straight line. It's kind of, you can compensate when you start doing that. So I've got it set up here, and what I'm going to now do is I'm actually going to put down the steel rail so that the wide end is on the sheets, and the other end off the sheets is the narrow end. So you want to putt from wide to narrow and make sure it's all really nicely lined up with the central black line on the arc map sheets. It's really important. So once you've got it in place, you can then line it up. You can then tape the end of it down. It's very important to keep that end very still, so tape it down with a little bit of insulation tape, and then line it up with a target maybe sort of 3 or 4 feet beyond it, like a chair leg or something. That's also a really useful thing, because you've always got something visual to look at. When placing this steel rule on the arc maps, it's important that the hole here is just it's about, you can see the green address line, and then the hole is about an inch ahead of that, and you'll see why is that when you place the ball onto that hole, you can now see how everything's really nicely lined up, and it's always good to mark the ball possibly as well. So now we come to the actual positioning of the putter head. That green line, which is your alignment face angle, that wants to be really nice and square, so that this really trains you to get a very square face to your target, something which very few people do, even tour players. Quite often when I've measured them, they can be a good few inches left or right, even from just sort of 8 feet away from the hole. So this is a great way to sort of line that putter face up exactly with that target, using that green line and also the lines on the ball. So if we now move on from that and say, right, okay, let's now make a stroke, put the ball in place, line up the lines on the ball, and you can now use the arc map to sort of visually sort of help the putter head sort of travel back on a really kind of nice in arc, and strike the ball along the steel rule. And if you hit it pure, and if it goes dead straight, you should hit the target. And we'll just take another quick look at that in slow motion. Now, just to explain a little bit more about this arc map, is you'll see very quickly here how these red lines, which are kind of at right angles to this kind of very slight arc, you can see how the putter head isn't really swinging along that black central line. It's swinging sort of more or less along that arc, and you can see how the putter face is staying square to the arc, square to those red sort of lines cutting across that arc. And it just means that it stays very nice and square. You can see how nice and square that is, square at impact, and the ball running nice and true. So that's what we're really looking for in a pure stroke, is where the face, you hit it off the sweet spot, and then the face stays square to the arc, not square to the target as you swing it back and forth. I hope that makes sense. Okay, best of luck with your putting. Thanks very much.